We need to get back to work. And work is one of the ways that we contribute to this country, that we grow our GDP, we grow our tax base, we contribute to each other effectively, we help finance our national security, our homeland security, our infrastructure.
I had key employees that really wanted to be leaders in the company, but they didn't want to have any ownership and responsibility that way. So I just had to start researching out and figuring out, well, how do I market my company?
Go to your local school board for 1 hour twice this year. And if you can have even just 10 or 15 employers show up and do that at the same school board every single month, there's 2 contractors filling out a little card to give your 30 seconds at the podium that says, I need your help and we have great jobs. Eventually they will hear you. But if everyone just did 2 hours a year, that's how we change this.
Stacy, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great.
She loves it. I ask the question every time. She's like, I'm fine, dude. Just a little much.
And I say to that owner, I said, so you're not willing to invest in yourself? You're not going to invest in yourself. You're going to invest in companies you have no control over, whereas your company you control, and you don't have the confidence to pour the money into that.
When things are busy and they're looking for their GC friends to sit down and negotiate a project on a GC and a fee, and they're more excited about building the project, and then all of a sudden the market swings, and now the developer market is going to go out and they're going to hard bid the same project to 2 or 3 different GCs, and that's where it starts going down.
It's morning huddle time. Good morning. Episode 18. Stacy, how are you today?
I'm doing good. I'm really excited for this episode. I've done so many community service events over the past 15 years, and I know the struggles that we'll talk about today, whether it's, what organizations you get involved with within the construction industry, or actually having the time to do it, or motivating your team to participate. So it'll be great to have both, the company side and then a nonprofit side to talk about, how we can solve those issues.
I've got my learning cap on for sure. That there's, I'm excited about some personal takeaways as well. Sort of how I can get involved and thinking about ways to play a positive role in the community. So we have Molly Cape and Maury Peterson. So Molly is with us from MTech Mechanical, which is a mechanical contractor, 500 so employees, based in Colorado. Molly, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, thanks. Good morning, everybody. Super excited to be here and chat with this topic. I'm super passionate about that, which hopefully you will see and learn about. I've been at MTech for about 8 years. I'm currently the marketing manager there, and amongst, your typical market activities like web and social and proposals, I also oversee kind of our community engagement platform as well. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, we appreciate you being here. And then we have Maury Peterson from Rebuilding Together, Montgomery County. Maury, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm really happy to be here as well. I'm Maury Peterson. I'm the executive director at Rebuilding Together, Montgomery County. We're a nonprofit, part of an affiliate network of about 120 affiliates from across the country, and we provide critical home repairs for seniors, veterans, and people with disabilities. So I'm really excited to share what we've done. I've also worked on the corporate side, so can see it from both sides, and happy to share what I've learned.
Awesome. That's great. Okay, so that's exactly what you two just described is what Stacy had in mind when we talked about this show was how can we bring in somebody that represents, the industry side that sort of, has the ability to talk about how the industry engages and the best way to get your company involved. And then how do we bring in somebody who's more on the mission side, who's, got the opportunities and the stories about the most successful ways they've experienced, corporate involvement, in particular from the building industry in their world. And so we kind of got like, 1 and 1 equals 3 on that front with this group, right? Because Molly's got absolutely, with a 500 employee organization that I know, philanthropy is absolutely built into your culture. And I'm looking forward to hearing how you've been able to pull that off. But also, Maury not only is on the mission side, but has background on the corporate side. in making that happen. So I think we're gonna get a lot of really interesting perspectives on just sort of why we should want to do this, how we should pull it off, and sort of lessons learned that any organization that's joining us may take away, whether you're on the corporate side or the mission side. So, Stacy, as per usual, we will have you field questions from the audience and encourage discussion from those folks who are joining us live this morning, and bring you back with some questions here for the last 10 minutes or so to funnel those in. Sound good?
Yeah, sure.
Excellent. See you soon. All right, let's start with why we should want to do this. And from your perspectives, what does a corporation get from giving? I'll start with Molly on that question.
Yeah, I think corporate giving has a lot of benefits. You think of, fostering employee engagement, generating value for those team members, really improving company morale. When you go out and do events together, you build that morale, you build that camaraderie amongst team members, the company culture, and then, the company side of it too, the reputation in the industry, in your community. And then I think also, we've been talking a lot about recruiting and retention, and workforce is a really hot issue. It has direct benefits there. You expand that network, you show what you're doing in the community, that, what are people's purpose in life, and how does that tie to their work, and how can they have kind of both that personal purpose and work purpose as well, kind of on the daily basis.
That is a serious punch list of reasons why we should want to do this. And I'm interested if you could, maybe share some specific success stories on one or more of those points. Please don't take this as me being negative, but I am maybe a healthy skeptic.
Yeah.
How do we? It's nice to hear, hey, it really helps with recruiting, morale, things along those lines. Can you prove it?
I think that you can. We've been really involved in like top workplace surveys, and we get a lot of those questions of, my purpose at work, and is my work meaningful? And I think that just really expands much more than what they're doing at their desk or their job site every day. I think that we've made some great connections in the community, where just kind of where that network piece comes in. We've worked with some nonprofit organizations who we also now do service work for. We replaced the air conditioning at the Denver Children's Home a couple years ago, and we have a long-standing partnership with them. So just kind of one of those examples. And we do a lot of community service, which I'll talk about here in a little bit, of connecting projects that we've done. So a remodel, a new build, to a community service project. And I think it kind of goes the other way as well of, they appreciate our support and giving, but then they want to give that back to us as well when needed.
Awesome. That's great. Maury, give us a little bit more on your background on the corporate end, and answer first with the corporate hat on, if you would. Why organizations should want to get involved in giving back.
Sure. Well, really, the reason why I'm at Rebuilding Together is because of the corporate experience I had being on the other side, working with Rebuilding Together. So, we used Rebuilding Together. We partnered with them. I work for a company of 500 employees. And so every year we would do National Rebuilding Day, where we would send volunteers out to do critical home repairs, and skilled and unskilled. They did, a little bit of both. But the return on investment was profound. So we would use it as a talent pipeline. So, for example, you put a kid from the mailroom in a room to paint with a bunch of senior vice presidents or managers, and all of a sudden they see this person in a different light. You can see leadership skills, you can see people who hustle, you can see people who problem solve. And so we really use that as a talent pipeline. It didn't turn out, that wasn't the intent at the beginning, but it certainly did that at the end. It also, people want to be part of something bigger than themselves. And so I think community service is something that connects people. Like, it helps, as Molly said, with recruitment and retention. People, yes, they want a good paycheck, but it's today it's more than just the paycheck. And so these types of events really did create community within the company. It helped to kind of show our values and what we were trying to prove as a company. And it did help us retain people and attract people. So the word gets out amongst, the best advice you can get is from your coworkers. So, if they have a really great experience, they would help recruit new people to join. And it was a really, it just built over the years. And it was really something special.
I'll tell you, that was surprising for me to hear just now, but totally connected when you talked about actually being able to see leadership skills in action, maybe in different environments than somebody's used to. Maybe somebody doesn't have any managerial responsibility in their day-to-day role by design, and now we're watching them operate in this building project, and all of a sudden they're orchestrating a team.
Right. And then I would build off of that. And when I saw someone that had that, when the next event came up, I said, hey, would you mind taking a leadership position? And at first they were like, oh no, I'm not a department leader or whatever. It's like, no, I saw you, I saw what you're capable of. And it builds people's confidence, and they can take on more within the company even.
Well, it's so much of that. You're 100% right, because so much of that, and I hope I don't diverge too much here, but our identity is what tells us what we're capable of doing, I think, right? It's in addition to your skills and other things, but so much of what you're actually capable of doing is just right here in terms of how much permission you've given yourself to be capable of doing things, right? And so finding those opportunities where outside of your daily work context, you get a chance to kind of reimagine your identity on the team, that can carry with you. So, it's so funny. I remember, and it's happened to me dozens of times, where I'll meet somebody who in their, office is kind of quiet and maybe doesn't play a particularly large role and kind of wants it that way. And then I'll get to talking to them and they're like, a 30-year scout troop leader and, an absolute, you're like, oh yeah, well, I do a lot of speaking, public speaking is kind of my, I'm like, what? Where did that come from? But people love to contribute to those things that they're passionate about. So that leads me to my next question, which is, how do we determine the right places to invest? And, as an organization, how do I figure out the right things to support that my people might get passionate about? How do I do that?
I think that from our standpoint at MTech, you have to ask, you ask your team members or your employees if you do surveys or what that might look like, or just walking down the halls and ask in the break room, hey, what organizations are you passionate about? We found the greatest success with organizations that people are connected to. We had an employee several years ago, unfortunately, that was diagnosed with MS. And so that was kind of the charity for that year. We had probably 35 people do kind of a fun mud run, and we raised money and we threw mud pies in people's faces. And it was just super fun campaign focused, in supporting that person. But we kind of do that throughout the organization of, we have people's family members or people are really passionate about animals. So asking, I think, is first. I think you also have to have a little bit of that top-down direction, and you have to ask those hard questions. There are a million great organizations that we can support. And so finding the one that fits best for your firm is really important. And maybe that's some sort of connection to the executive team, or if there's an organization that you aren't totally sure about, doing some research on Charity Navigator or seeing how many dollars they're putting back or how many cents on the dollar that they're putting into their organization. And then also having some focus areas. At MTech, we really focus on kids, community, and then some connections to some projects as well. But, those organizations can get very tricky if you have, social focused, politically focused, religious, all those hot buttons. You really have to examine, where you want to put your money and how that's going to reflect on your firm and those relationships that you want to build. Having those tough conversations and figuring out what works best for you.
Yeah, and I would add that, for the construction industry, Organizations like Rebuilding Together, sometimes it's really good to look for synergy with what your business model is, and then a nonprofit that complements that. And so because we're doing critical home repairs and, accessibility modifications for veterans, seniors, people with disabilities, marginalized communities, a lot of folks in the construction trade and their vendors feel a real synergy with our mission, that they can take something that they're really good at and that they know how to do and apply it to a nonprofit setting and really kind of leverage that expertise, which I think is a wonderful thing.
That's a wonderful point, and it's specifically, the reason that I know Stacy wanted to pull you in, Maury, is because I think people do want to do something that they want to use their skills for good. How's that? I'm not good at a lot of things, but I am pretty good at running strategic planning, and facilitating those kinds of group, environments among leaders and volunteer leaders and things along those lines. And I participate in a group called Best Buddies, which is a really cool mission that I won't spend any time on. But if anybody wants to look it up, I strongly encourage them. But I had this conversation, this heart to heart, and I said, look, I'm not good at the majority of stuff you need, but I will run the hell out of your retreats, right? Like that's what I can do. Can I, and they were like, please, that sounds great. And it invigorated a kind of a passion in me, in a way of giving in my skill sets. So if you're a construction company and you've got, tons of handy people who love building and fixing and working with their hands, it would be wise, I think, to channel those skills and that energy into the places where that brings value.
Yeah, I can't reiterate that enough, and just hearing about it gets me excited. I think that you have to find that fit in those skills that your team can utilize their specialty skills, because not everybody has those skills. Like you said, hands-on work is a niche thing, and we have 350 amazing individuals who are doing that every single day. And that can look a lot of different ways too. It doesn't necessarily have to be building a home or working with Rebuilding Together, or it can be building bicycles for kids, or building wagons for the children's hospital, or building flower beds, or renovating. We're doing an accessible restroom renovation right now for a charity in Colorado, and so we have 200 plumbers on our team, which is amazing, and they can do that in a couple hours versus that organization would have to spend a lot of time and a lot of money, and we're really helping kind of utilize those skills like you said. And I think also too, everybody on our team isn't necessarily also field focused. For example, in marketing, we work with an organization right now that is revamping websites for small businesses, and so on the marketing side, I might not have those hands-on skills, or you might have administrative staff who's great at billing or invoicing, or is a whiz at Excel spreadsheets. There are organizations who are looking for that administrative support too. So you can kind of look at it both ways from your team. Which is awesome.
It's a great point. Not everybody needs to be, too many chiefs, not enough. You know what I mean? Right? Not everybody needs to be the head of the thing, and administrative help is deeply appreciated. So again, figuring out how to leverage your team's skill sets even across, I'm sure, Maury, in your world, you not everybody needs to have a hammer in their hand.
No. We use a lot of what we call unskilled volunteers. Good-hearted people that want to give back. We've got plenty of yard work and painting and that kind of thing. We also have a program we call She Builds, which is getting women volunteers from the construction trade together, whether they work in marketing or they're swinging hammers. And we'll pick charities that also focus on women. And we'll have a day where lots of women will come out to help other women at a nonprofit. And we'll teach folks how, you've never hung drywall. Well, we can show you how to do that. This weekend, we're hosting our largest event. It's National Rebuilding Weekend. we are going to have 700 volunteers out from 35 different companies and faith-based groups. And so we're going to be teaching people how to put siding on houses, how to install drywall, all sorts of interesting things that they haven't done. But it's also a wonderful way to build your skill set and give people new opportunities.
I love it. That's really cool. So let's get to some brass tacks here in terms of, so let's say I'm watching this or I'm listening and I'm getting excited about trying to make this go inside my organization. I can see the value, right? Hey, we're going to give people a sense of contribution. We're going to create this really interesting opportunity for people to shine and use their talents for something that is meaningful and gives all of us a sense of accomplishment, high fives all around. Okay, how much money should I be spending? How much time should I spend? Should I be paying my employees for this time? Let's talk about some of the best practices, if you will, that you would recommend that you've seen work inside, or maybe don'ts, right? Do's and don'ts when it comes to actually making this thing go.
Are you sure we only have 10 minutes left?
Yes, it is a very fast.
We could spend a whole hour chatting about this. I think this is, one of the key pieces that we've been talking about at MTech, and then we also had a conversation yesterday of, what fits best for your firm. So, giving can look a lot of different ways. If that is, your time, so volunteer time. There's a lot of great organizations that are going to give 1 volunteer day a year, or maybe that's 5 a year, or maybe that's 2 hours per year per employee, figuring out what that number looks like for your firm and what you can, budget or afford. Giving that option of paid time off, or, saying that you have your PTO package, but then you have an extra volunteer day, and what does that look like? And what do you need for people to do in order to validate that? Or maybe it's an organized day type of thing that they need to show up at one of these 4 places to volunteer for 1 day. And then I think that, paying them volunteer time, like those are just questions to have internally. And I think that also, talking about how much you want to budget for this, it's not a one size fits all approach. And so I would say that if your firm doesn't have a program yet, start small. Start with 2 events per year to get your entire team involved, or depending on how large you are, maybe it's a couple groups get involved, and then see if you can grow it or expand it. And I think you have to have a champion too, whether that's one person. Obviously, I'm at marketing at MTech, but I wear a lot of different hats, including this one, which I think is pretty similar for, firms our size or smaller, figuring out who that person is going to be, or that committee, and what that looks like too.
Talk for just 1 second, Molly, about the committee. What does that makeup look like, in your organization? Because again, I'm sitting here thinking, I might, if I'm a business owner and I'm involved in this episode, I may be thinking, okay, so I got to make this decision. This is no. Don't make all those decisions by yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
What does it look like in your world?
Yeah, so for us, it looks like we have a committee of probably 10 individuals. I'm kind of the chair, facilitator, whatever you want to call it, the ringleader, the sheep herder. We have people on our committee that take different roles. Your committee could look like, a formal committee of a chair and a secretary and a treasurer, and you could look that way. Our committee is a little bit more informal. Each person on the committee is expected to take 1 event per year, and they're really the champion of that from start to finish. So it could be promoting the event with the marketing team. It could be organizing that event with the charity, who, what, when, where, why. What time are we going to set up? What are we going to do? How many people do I need? Just kind of getting all those questions answered and being that main point of contact. So those people are really running the event from start to finish with our support and help from kind of the marketing events team.
That's helpful. Thank you. Maury, how would you chime in on the brass tacks of getting something, up and running?
Yeah, I would say start small, look for mission alignment. And I also think leadership is really important. It should be a partnership between the company and the nonprofit. So making sure that, you sit down with the executive director, whoever's in charge on the nonprofit side, to make sure that there's a good fit there and that there's good synergy between the organizations. I think that goes a long way to making sure that, on my side, I always want to sit down with a company and find out, what are your goals and objectives? What do you hope to get out of this? Because I want to make sure that I'm, in addition to fulfilling my mission, I want to make sure that I'm delivering on your deliverables and helping you have the successful event that and meeting your objectives as well. So I think that sometimes those things can go off the rails if you don't do the work up front of finding the right partner and having those upfront discussions. But I would say start small, get a champion, as Molly said, internally. Some of this can be a little bit of trial and error. But I think that it's just a matter of just start. There's so many good causes out there. There's so many people that need help. People want to use their skills and gifts. And so it really does impact positively your bottom line. There are, intrinsic things that sometimes you can measure, and sometimes it's just the way that you want your company to be perceived internally and externally to the community.
Love it. That's great. Stacy, what kind of questions would you tackle?
Well, I do want to add to what you just said, Maury. So what business owners might not realize too, when you're doing community service projects so there's different awards that you want to apply for, whether it's a social corporate responsibility awards in your community or accredited contractor, the AQC, accredited quality contractor with ABC. There's an ethics award with Associated or American Subcontractors Association. All of these awards have a huge criteria that you have to fill out, and they usually have a community service or community relations portion that all of these, all of your efforts actually come into play with these submissions and can help you get awards and increase your marketing for recruiting people to your organization. Also, some of the proposals that we do, they want to see how you're participating in the community. So that's really important to consider.
I think that's a great points. And in addition to volunteering, there are other ways companies can give back to nonprofits, whether in-kind donations of materials and supplies or time. We can give tax letters so that folks can use those for their tax purposes. So I think the in-kind is a really important thing. Also, there's sponsorship. So sometimes when people are so busy, but they want to do something to give back, they can sponsor a nonprofit event, or maybe send some folks to, if it's a golf event or a 5K or, something like that. That's another way to kind of tiptoe into a relationship.
Yeah, definitely. I did want to ask Molly if you could talk about your awesome campaign for the 2020, your 20th anniversary and the events that are surrounding that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is something we are super excited about this year is MTechs 20th anniversary. So really great to see the longevity of the company. And so we wanted to celebrate that by giving back. And so this year we are hosting 20 events throughout the year in Colorado. And so we're partnering with 20 different organizations, and that all looks a little bit different. From like a minimal standpoint, we are partnering with a local school to do 2 STEM grants. We'll be judging those submissions, very minimal, minimal time required or effort, versus we had all of our general superintendents go to Volunteers of America, deliver Meals on Wheels for a morning. So you are pulling 18 people off of a job site for 3 hours. That's much more of a commitment from the business end as well. We're doing this across the state. We have 4 offices in Colorado, so we really want to kind of touch each of those areas, was also really important. And then finally, we are donating $2,022 to all 20 of those charities. So it has just been amazing to see. And usually the check part is the spoiler alert, that they have just been amazed to, receive that. And we've been, so thrilled to be able to give that too.
That's awesome. Though you're setting an extremely dangerous precedent for
right. Setting the bar high.
Like the 50th is going to be a whole thing.
Right.
Really saving up for the next 30 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can, I'll just put a small plug. You can definitely learn about it on our website, mtechg.com/20 years. And all the events are listed there and updated throughout the year. And you can also submit a charity to get involved. So if you are in the Colorado area or know Colorado charity to give back to, we'd love to hear about them.
Awesome. Thank you. Maury, I'd love if you gave our audience an opportunity to get involved in rebuilding together Montgomery County. How would we take some steps in learning more and getting involved?
Thank you. So you can visit our website, which is rebuildingtogethermc.org. And so there you'll see that we have a number of great events coming up. We also do tailored events for specific companies that say they have 3 hours on a Thursday in September, and we can do things that are specific to those organizations. I'll just reiterate, we're part of an affiliate network of 120 affiliates across the country. So our parent affiliate is at rebuildingtogether.org, and you can also search an affiliate in your area if you'd like to get involved.
Wonderful. Thank you. It's amazing how many different organizations. You said 120? Yeah, that's every state?
Not quite, but they're very much neighbor helping neighbor. They were all started primarily by volunteers and then have grown up into nonprofits. And so ours has been around for 32 years, started by just good neighbors that wanted to help other neighbors. And, we've been able to help 2,600 homeowners and galvanize 50,000 community volunteers just in our community alone. So across the nation, it's a pretty profound impact. It used to be called Christmas in April, and it's now called Rebuilding Together. So
got it. Okay.
Some folks may remember it as Christmas in April.
That's wonderful. It's what an important conversation. What an important mission you guys have. Thank you both so much for joining and having this discussion and getting all of our wheels turning about creative ways to do something important both for our own organizations and for our communities. So I think that's.
Well, thanks for having us. And I'm sure probably Molly feels the same. If there's anybody out there that has questions or needs help, I know I would be happy to help anybody answer any questions on how to get started. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was great.
Thanks so much.
Likewise. Yeah. So Stacy, let's talk a little bit about what we have coming up next week. Next week, we've got Amy Rock, who is from Prince George's County Public Schools. She is an awesome success story. She's got a fantastic story to tell about how to engage young people in educational programs that land them with careers quickly and sustainably, and end up, saving a whole bunch of money on debt. So I think we're going to have a really cool conversation with Amy. Is there anything that you want to add on that I'm missing?
Nope, you're not missing anything.
Awesome. Just a reminder for everybody.
Great.
If you don't want to have to try to keep up on the posts on LinkedIn to get registered, please just shoot us a note, Stacy H at steeltoecom.com. Yep. She will help to get you on our weekly email list, which comes straight to you with the link to register, and you don't have the stress of trying to keep up with LinkedIn, which Lord knows I can't, and I don't think most people can. So thanks so much. Have a great one. We'll see you next week.
All right. See ya.
See ya.